Alrighty, guys, and welcome back to the Basketball Fix podcast. Now, on today's episode, we have got one of the young guns in the NBL, Nick Stoddart from the Tasmanian JackJumpers. Nick, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Obviously, looking forward to touching on a few things. Obviously, there's a bit of talk around the league about yourself, the dart. I guess a lot of people are calling you, and that shooting style is 100% the nickname there, and it does do it justice as well, mate. But what's been going on, mate? The season's just finished and into the off season, but I'm sure you got some NBL One plans as well.
Yeah, so a few of the guys still in town. We're still working out, so trying to stay in shape. And then next week, I'm heading back to Ballarat, for NBL One on the Spirit.
You're still living with Archie at the moment, mate?
Yeah, but he's out of town for the week. He's gone back home and enjoying Sydney. So yeah, it's just me and my misso for the moment.
Oh, nice. It's definitely nice to get the big fella out of the house for a few weeks, mate. I'm sure you guys would have been doing each other's heads in over the season. I spoke to him yesterday as the day of recording this episode, and what a story he's got as well, mate. But sure, there would have been some fun times with the two of you guys over the whole season.
Oh, for sure. No, he's been so easy to live with, and now we've become really good mates. So yeah, it's been a really good season.
No, definitely, mate. Well, let's take it right back to the start, mate. So you mentioned obviously there Ballarat, but let all the listeners know here where you grew up, what you got up to at a very young age, and any other sports outside of basketball before we really dive into the basketball career.
Yeah, so I grew up in Brisbane, just 10 minutes north of the city. I grew up always playing sport, lots of sports, cricket. My dad was a cricketer, so played a lot of cricket, played at a decent level. Soccer with friends, hockey, a bit of field hockey. That was really fun growing up, and basketball. So, yeah, played cricket till I was about 16, 17, and then from then it was just too hard to balance both, and basketball it was.
What made you the decision, I guess, there between basketball and cricket? Like, why did you decide to go down the basketball pathway more than the cricket pathway?
Apart from the long days in the field, I'd say I think I was progressing with my basketball a bit more, and it was a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest.
Yeah, let's dive into that basketball career a little bit more here as well now, mate. So did you play any state rep sort of level games, and what ages did you play? Did you play at the under 15s, the 17s, the 19s, all that sort of stuff as well? And what were some of those early sort of thoughts as to maybe you could start to pursue this a little bit further as you went along with NBL One and obviously the NBL as well?
Yeah, so I played state basketball from under 16s through to under 20s for Queensland, and went to a couple Australian camps, stuff like that. So was kind of playing at a high level from a young age, and yeah, made a pretty smooth transition to NBL One up in Queensland, and had a few good seasons with Jason Cadee in 2019 and 2020. So he really helped me kind of take another step as well. And then 2021, I won the Youth Player of the Year up north, and yeah, had a good year there. And then 22, I got hurt with my shoulder. 23, I hurt my wrist, so only played half season there. And then came down to Ballarat last year, and made the move to Tassie soon after that.
Definitely made the move. But let's go back a little bit further. You mentioned a name there which sort of, I guess, springs to mind in terms of a lot of people, Jason Cadee. At a young age, mate, playing with him, he's one of the greatest NBL basketball players we've ever seen. Obviously, he's just retired and won't be lost to the league at all. But what were some of the things that you learnt off him at an early age? Because you're still so young, 24 years of age, what you are right now. Like, there's some lessons that you would have learned for sure at that age that probably have carried on right now into your career.
Yeah, I think the main thing was just, first and foremost, he's a great bloke. Like, he treats everybody the same. Like, he's a really good person. The way he goes about it off the court is no different to on the court as well. Like, he doesn't cheat the game. And he's a really good team guy. Like, he's always leading, using his voice. And I think that's something that I've struggled with in the past. And I feel like he kind of helped me start to open up a little bit more in a team environment. So, yeah, he's had a great career. And yeah, it's been cool to play with him and watch him play as well. So congrats to him for sure.
No, definitely, mate. It's been an incredible career. Now, let's go into that most recent NBL One season where you finished the year with averages of 14.7 points per game, the 2.6 rebounds, and the 3 assists. You've had a pretty good year as well. You played the 26 games that year. What was that sort of period like? Because you've been able to score at the top level. You know, if you look back to the 2 seasons before that, where obviously you had those injuries, you averaged over those 2 seasons 19 points per game. So you've definitely been able to score. You've definitely been able to sort of lead somewhat of a team as well. But I think last season it all sort of got put together at a pretty good scale as well.
Yeah, so that's always been one of my strong suits, putting the ball in the basket growing up. Always loved to score the ball. But last year, I think Luke Brennan, our coach at Ballarat, Trig, he emphasised on locking in on the defensive end and just not worrying about like forcing anything. We had a crazy solid team in Ballarat, so there was no need to try and get my own. Like it was always gonna happen. So just being able to play an all-round, just solid brand of basketball with solid defense, I think was the next step. And we got to the finals and played a decent role in that team. So yeah, and it was just really fun to be able to put a whole season together. If I'm being honest, like missing heaps of games over the last 3 years and then being able to find a full season with health was the big takeaway for me. So yeah.
What does that do mentally for you though? Like obviously injuries are such an annoying thing when it comes to any sort of sport, but at the top level, especially where you're fighting for roster spots, not only in the NBL, but other professional leagues around the world, when you're spending more time off the court than you are on it, and you're away from the team as well, because we know there's rehab groups and all that sort of process, what does that mentally do to a young athlete for sure?
It's definitely hard. Like it's not easy. You definitely learn a bit about yourself, but I think just finding what drives you and just going back to that whenever there's a day you're not feeling great or screw this. I think just, yeah, going back to what you know and what drives you really helps.
What are some of the things that drive you? What were some of the things that got you through those processes? And if you can share, I know there's probably some personal parts of it as well, but what were some of the things that you are willing to share, I guess, that drove you back to playing basketball at a high level?
Well, I love the game, and I think that helped a bit. And then just making my family proud, making mum and dad proud, my sister, and then of course proving the doubters wrong. I think that's a big part. So yeah, and just wanting the hunger to get back on the court also drives it quite a lot.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a common goal, I guess, is one, proving the doubters wrong is such a quote that goes, I don't know, it gets used a lot, but it does mean a lot to specific people. And I guess you're one of those people who can definitely use that as well. But last season, mate, you spoke about locking on the defensive end, and we'll talk about the Tassie stuff very, very shortly. But that's one thing that has become very, very clear from a Tasmanian JackJumpers perspective, that defense is key, and then everything else comes with that as well. You spoke about the focus, obviously, from the conversations with the former coach as well. What were some of the things that you needed to improve on? Because statistically, defensive-wise, over the last 2 seasons before the most recent one, you averaged about 1.5 steals per game. But I guess it's the whole team defense and structural defense that you need to work on the most.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, Trig, Luke Brennan emphasised getting better on the defensive end for me. And I've always had a good anticipation for the ball and just picking off plays in gaps, stuff like that. I'm solid at, and I think it's just I would tend to take off maybe a couple possessions, hands on knees, and just get a little bit lazy. And I think it was just taking those plays out of my game were a big step. And then, yeah, I think just I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I guess it was just solid having somebody to keep me, like hold me accountable on that side of the ball as well. And we had a really good defensive team, so it made it a lot funner playing defense. And that led into Tassie as well, which was the same thing. It's a lot of fun when everyone's up and about playing defense, and yeah, everyone's riding for one another. So it was a lot of fun.
No, definitely. I think it's obviously one of those things that is super important at the next level as well. And we speak about it all the time. I think defense has lost its way a little bit when it comes to professional basketball, but I think that's one thing that the NBL is so important about, is the fact that you look at the teams now and the teams who are probably going to fight for championships, it is going to come down to a solid defensive base before, obviously, you do win the NBL championship, which is similar to what the Jackies did last year. Really good defensive team. Probably weren't even close to a top 5 offensive team realistically, but they were so connected and so joined at the hip when it comes defensively. That's why they won that championship. But freshly coming off a championship, and I guess the call came out to yourself from the JackJumpers, mate, where they were interested in signing you as a development player. What was that whole process like, obviously, in terms of signing for the Jackies, fresh off a championship and walking into that building day one?
Yeah, it was wild because I was still finishing up in Ballarat, and I had practice one night, and Trig called me and spoke to me and said, like, they want to have a Zoom with you. And so we chatted, and they brought me down the next week after my game. So for 2 weeks, I was like in and out, kind of just practicing. And then I think my second week there, I signed. I think I was about to play the semi-final in NBL One, so I was still flying in and out, and I was just honestly so excited. I was just trying to stay like one step at a time, one day at a time, finish the NBL One season, and try not to focus too much on the future. But I was so stoked, man.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's one of those things, hey, it's like they're such a good organization already, like 4 years in the league. I've spoken about this to a number of guys already, but, grand final appearance their first year, semi-final the next year, championship the year after. Obviously, this year was slightly disappointing, but obviously there are things that they could not control in terms of injuries and that sort of stuff. But such a historic franchise so early in their career. And I guess what really comes to mind is the culture and obviously the star players that the JackJumpers do have. And, we speak of guys all the time, such as, Will Magnays, the Clint Steindls, Majuk Dangs, Anthony Drimmick. So those guys who were such strong characters and leaders, walking into that building, was it sort of daunting to a degree? But once you got to know everyone, it was a really nice environment. Can you give us some insight into what the Tasmanian JackJumpers are sort of behind the scenes is like?
So you're right about the culture. Like from day one, everybody's, there's no shortcuts. You got to get to know everyone really quickly. And yeah, it's really easy to get to know everyone. I mean, I was lucky enough to play with a few of the guys and be around a few of the guys back when I was training with the Bullets. So having a few of those relationships earlier on helped make it a little bit smoother, but it's definitely daunting, like going in, being a younger guy, meeting the imports, like meeting Milt, meeting JC, and, they hold you to a standard as well. So you got to live up to that. And yeah, I mean, off the court, it was so easy. Everybody's so cool, and is genuine to one another. So I really enjoyed that part, and on the court it was just the same. So yeah, it was really daunting, but it was really easy at the same time.
No, definitely. And I think something that's a bit unique for yourself compared to other situations, you signed obviously a DP contract. Now, typically I believe you can't sign a DP contract after the age of 25. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, so that's where it's a little bit unique, because you tend to see these DP players at the ages of 19 or 20 years of age, where they can obviously do a maximum of 3 years as a development player before they have to sign a full contract sort of roster spot. So they are getting multiple seasons to sort of be looked at, whereas your situation is slightly different. You've only got the one chance of being a DP for the one season. You've got to kind of prove yourself, but you pretty much did do that when given the opportunity. There wasn't that many opportunities to start the season, but with all the injuries and everything like that that came with it, you had some good time and good minutes on the court, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. Like, it was sad losing, first of all, Mags, and then Shawnee, and then Juk did his ankle as well. Like, just guys were just getting hurt, and it was tough around the group. Like, everyone was kind of, it was down and stuff like that. But I mean, it doesn't change the way we go about things. Yeah, so yeah, it was crazy. I got a call, and they were just getting back. I think it was the Illawarra game. They played in Illawarra, and Shawnee did his foot there, and I got a call saying, "Oh, you're going to be playing." Like, I didn't expect to play at all this year, so even being able to get the chance to play, let alone start a few games, was super special and really fun. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy year. Like when you look at some of the stats as well, like you'll come on and you'll play a couple of minutes, and there's not much opportunity. It's sort of the junk time minutes, and then you look to a couple other games where you play 15 minutes and you score the 9 points against the Adelaide 36ers. And then obviously there was that breakout game where everyone was like, who the heck is this kid? Like 14 points against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix in the 27 minutes of play to go along with the 2 blocks and the 2 steals as well, which is incredible. What was it like? Because there's been so many comparisons, I guess, between yourself and Sean McDonald. And whilst you guys do play similar styles, it's not probably the basketball side of everything. It's more how you guys are coming to defensive, DP players, I should say, potentially into roster spots. And there's that sort of characteristics between you both with, everything else going on. What's that sort of been like, I guess, working with a guy like Sean McDonald every day?
Oh, it's been great. Me and Shawnee, we had some battles growing up against each other, and I've always thought he's a gun. Like, he's always been a gun growing up. And yeah, I've always admired what he's been able to do down here. Just like me, got thrown to the deep end, and now he's a key player on this team. So yeah, I guess it's similar in the way I've been thrown in. But yeah, I've definitely still got some work to do. But yeah, hopefully I can take another step and yeah, lock myself in again, but we'll see.
Does it give you confidence, though, that sort of pathway is, able to be done, and especially at the team that you are currently around as well? Because, we saw, like I said, Shawnee DP contract, full roster contracts, crucial part of the JackJumpers organization going forward. You're in that similar spot now where, you're really fighting for that full-time roster spot. And then obviously once you get the opportunity, you can see what you make of it after that.
Yeah. So, and like being a little bit older as well, like it's definitely, you have to fight to stay in the league. So I've only got this 1 year. This 1 year I had as a development player. Like there's no chance again for me to get a DP contract. So I have to make the most of my minutes, show that I'm ready to make that next step and become a roster spot player.
No, definitely, man. And I want to hone in on that Southeast Melbourne Phoenix game a little bit more. Like I said, the 14 points, I believe that was the game where you hit those 3 threes, and the Dart nickname was floating around. I saw you off the top of your head after I mentioned the nickname, the Dart. Doesn't look like you're a massive fan of that, but what was that game like, mate? Because it was a big moment, and I think it was sort of your welcome to the NBL moment to a certain degree as well, where you put your name on the map, and there was quite a big buzz around the Tasmanian JackJumpers fan base and also the NBL about who you are and what you could potentially be in the NBL.
Right. So yeah, that game, like I wasn't even meant to start that game either. Like Drim came to the stadium, but he was, pretty much dead. So he had to leave. He was so sick. And then, they just told me I was starting again. And I guess like I was going up against guys that I've played against. So I was kind of familiar with who I was playing and their personnel. So that kind of gave me a little bit more of comfort. But yeah, then just, I don't know, the more games I played, the more comfortable I was starting to feel. So, just trying to make an impact where I can, whether it was on the defensive end, getting a few steals or blocks, or being able to knock down a 3 when I can. So, yeah, that was a good game for me, and made a couple shots. Obviously, we lost by 40, so it was tough, but nonetheless, big step for me. Yeah.
What's Scott been like? Scott Roth, I speak of there for everyone listening at home, but what's Scott been like? Because he's such a player's coach. And I remember listening to a press conference probably 3/4 of the way through the season. And I'm not sure if you were the one sitting next to him, but he just spoke about how he'd love to see you guys be a little bit more vocal. He was talking about the DP players and the younger guys on the team. He'd love to see the vocal sort of step up a little bit and you guys lead the team as it goes along. So what's he like? Because he seems like a guy who challenges his players the right way and gets the best out of every single player that he's coached so far.
100%. 100%. Challenges you every day at practice. Like it always starts at practice. He's in everyone's ear from Milt to Clint down to me, Brody and Walt, Arch. Like he expects the same from everyone. You got to talk. If you want to be on the court, you got to talk. He always harps on that. So always use your voice. He's always harping on that. But the way he holds everyone accountable and to that high standard, everybody locks in at practice, and I guess nobody really wants to let anyone down. So we're all giving it our best and we're all locked in. So it makes it easy, but it's also very tough at the same time with that high standard.
It's an interesting dynamic there in Tasmania as well. It seems to be the young guys, like, and the really, really young guys, and then there's the old guys, and the vet and I guess the rookie sort of combination, I guess we can use to a certain degree. Does it ever get interesting? Does he ever go, all right, let's play the oldies against the youngies and see what you guys can do? Or what's the sort of dynamic around the team sort of structure as well?
Yeah, no, there's not really any divide between the young and the old, but like I was saying, like some days we'll play ones, all the young guys, and like JC, Milton, Rubes will come over and they'll be talking their trash, like saying, "Come on, young fellas," and like we're giving them buckets, but they're still there talking trash, and I don't know. It's good though having that back and forth, like getting the competitive spirit out of one another. So it's fun.
No, definitely, mate. And obviously, a big question coming into this off season, and I guess it's on everyone's mind right now, is the contract talk. And it's going to be interesting because a lot of people have been speaking about this around the NBL community. And I think a lot of people are more on the basis of people think you deserve 100% to have a roster spot going into NBL 26. But we know how tight that does get. And we know, obviously, that the most important thing will be signing away the star players. I guess you could say the import players is probably the better way of saying it, those guys, and figuring out the rest of the roster as everything goes along. But have there been any initial conversations? I know you probably had your exit meeting over the last couple of days as to where, you sort of see yourself potentially re-signing more than you probably don't see yourself re-signing. So where do you see NBL 26 right now?
Oh, it's all up in the air. Like you said, I just had my exit interview on Friday. And they said there's a scenario where I'm back and there's scenarios where I'm not back. So I think they just want to see me in NBL One, see how I go, see if I can take those Jackie's habits and implicate them into the minors. And yeah, who knows? It's all up in the air. So I got to hold my own in NBL One, do what I can to prove that I'm worthy of them bringing me back.
Where will you be spending this NBL One season? Are you going to be staying in Tasmania, or are you going to be heading back over to the mainland? Where's the 2025 season going to be heading off to?
And heading back to the miners in Ballarat.
Yeah.
We got some unfinished business. The boys are still salty about last season, so yeah, we're all linking back up. Back in Ballarat. I'm keen.
No, definitely, mate. It's going to be a very interesting off season. It probably is shaping to be one of your most crucial off seasons, I guess. And when I say off season, I'm talking strictly NBL. Obviously, you're in your on season in the NBL One competition, mate. But it's going to be interesting to see how you go from afar. Now, I don't think we'd be doing you justice if we didn't ask this question as well, though, because you have been spoken about so much in the NBL. Is there any interest from other teams potentially? Now, if you don't have any, you don't want to comment, that's completely fine. But I'm sure your name's been circulating around a couple of other teams as well.
I would have no idea. Honestly, it's too early. I haven't spoken to anyone, and I haven't heard anything. So I think for me as well, I think it'll happen a little bit later down the track. So yeah, a few months away. I don't know, but we'll see.
No, definitely. We're waiting and seeing, I guess, as the season goes on, mate. But it's going to be an interesting one. There's going to be some times where you're probably going to have some sleepless nights and all that sort of stuff, but it's going to be an absolute process, and I hope we see you out on an NBL court. Now, I've got a couple of rapid-fire questions here, mate, just to have a little bit of a laugh towards the back end of the episode here, mate. But number one basketball shoe that you have decided to run for the majority of your career, what is it?
Kobe 5.
Oof.
I was a big Kobe guy growing up, and Kobe's were everything. Or another one was the 2011 Hyperdunk Lows. They were crazy growing up, and tried getting them a couple of years ago. Had a couple pairs. Yeah, those two would probably be my two favorites.
No big baller brand shoes floating around, mate, at all? Never gave that a go?
Hell no. Honorable mention to the PG5 as well. I love those.
PG5s. Yeah, no, that's I used to run a few Kyries back in the day. They were my favorite shoes, but yeah, I guess the Kobe's as well were absolutely elite as well, mate. Now, do you watch much NBA before I get into these next couple of questions?
I'm not like a diehard, but I know what's going on enough.
Yeah. Who's the go to the NBA then, mate? It's always the controversial topic. Is it LeBron? Is it Kobe? Is it Michael? Is it MJ?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, Kobe. I grew up on Kobe. Kobe's always been my favorite, no matter what. I don't really. I'm not an overly opinionated person, so I'll let everybody debate that. But and I grew up on LeBron as well, so
Yeah.
always loved the way LeBron goes about it. Yeah, but MJ, obviously, you can't argue what he's done for the culture and the hoop game. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like they're all great. Like I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I think it's the smart way of doing it, mate. Pick straws. I'll chuck a comment out there. I think LeBron's the greatest of all time, but we'll leave that there for another day. But Tasmania, mate. Tasmania, though, mate. It's an interesting spot, and I've spoken to a few people, like I've said, and it's not one spot that I thought or I would think I'd ever go to play professional sport. It's more of a place. The stigma around Australia is it's more of a place where you go and spend your 50s or your 60s and have a bit of a look around as a retirement sort of journey and all that sort of stuff as well. But 500,000 people is the rough estimate of population there, and they're a very close-knit community. There's obviously a divide between the north end and the south end and everything like that. But what have you made of the whole Tasmanian experience so far, and what are a couple of your favourite things to do in Tasmania if I'm looking to come over?
First of all, yeah, there's not really like a divide between the north and south. Obviously, distance-wise, there is, but from a Jackie's like standpoint, everybody's the same. They're all diehards. Great community, like great fan base, and the people here are just beautiful. Like really good people, super kind, and yeah, like Tassie's been amazing. It's been really easy living here. One thing I've really enjoyed, I've gone over to Bruny Island a couple times, and it's really beautiful over there. Really nice water, good views. Mount Wellington, go up there. Good view from up there. To be fair, I haven't really got up to much else. I should have gone to a Hurricanes game. I don't know what I was thinking, not going to the final, but it is what it is. And then yeah, some good coffee, really good coffee spots down there, good bakeries. Yeah, so there's a bit to do.
Yeah, definitely a bit to do. And I think obviously one thing you've left out there as well, we're checking out a JackJumpers game as well, the hottest ticket in town, mate.
I thought that was a no-brainer. I thought that was
100% a no-brainer and a given there as well. It's unbelievable. Like the support that you guys receive, it sort of reminds me of like a country football sort of fan base. Like they are passionate as all hell. They pack every game out. Like they are. I tried to buy tickets for a game I reckon it would have been November for a January game, and they were all gone. Unless I wanted to spend $400 and sit courtside, I wasn't going.
But no, everyone is like the fan base is crazy. Like I've heard stories about the member ticket holders, like not even being able to get tickets to the home games. Like it's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, watching on TV, it doesn't do any justice for how the crowd is. It is absolutely insane. The place is rocking from the jump to the end, no matter the scoreline. Like if we're up 30 and JC hits the three, the crowd will go crazy. The same thing if we're down 20. Like they're always barracking, going crazy for us, and yeah, that's a testament to them.
Yeah, it's an incredible community sort of feel, and I think in terms of what they've built in such a short amount of time, it's incredible. And I think it would probably be up there as one of the great franchises right now in the NBL to play for, mate. And I guess it'd be an absolute honour and a privilege every time you put on the green and gold, I guess you could say, obviously with the Jackies colours there, that it'd be a lot of fun, mate. But I'm looking forward to sort of continuing on watching your journey in this NBL One sort of off-season here for the NBL. And mate, I hope you genuinely do get another crack at the NBL level, mate, because I think there was 100% some great signs there. Obviously, you're still so young and you haven't had as much of exposure as to the NBL level as what other people have in terms of DP sort of styles as well. So, mate, obviously really appreciate your time coming on today and getting a little bit of insight into your little journey into the basketball journey. And, mate, like I said, hopefully we see yourself in a JackJumpers uniform very shortly.
Fingers crossed, man. I appreciate you for having me.
No worries, mate. I'll catch up with you soon.
That's all good. Sounds good, man. Thank you.